On New Year's Eve, the last day of the year, 1963, Patricia and I wanted to go out and bring in the new year. And we went to the place where we frequented called the California Club. It was very popular, a lot of great acts. I mean, top of the line, legendary acts appeared at that place. No cover. Just go in and see them for free. Great artists. This evening we went, and Ike and Tina Turner and their 28-man review were performing. So Pat and I, we was up front sitting. Ike and Tina Turner's band was playing, and Tina and the Ikeettes, they was rocking it, slinging their hair, and had these, those dresses we used to wear with the fringe. They had on them fringe dresses, and they was just going to town with that fringe and the hair movement and the body movement, and I mean, they was just, energy, nothing but pure energy and fun. And just lively, I mean, inspiring as well. That's how it was back in the day. And while I'm sitting there watching the show, I had this real powerful command or demand of something telling me to turn around. Something strong was telling me to turn around. Well, I turned around, and my eyes and his eyes met. And we stared at each other and just continued like we were frozen in time. We locked up, as they say. And we must have stared at each other for so long until I got embarrassed, and I turned back around and started watching the show again. But not after thinking, wow, he is so handsome. And so I wiped him out of my mind, just kind of like went on about my business and started watching the show again. And after a time, I had to go to the ladies' lounge and got up. When I stood up, he stood up. And as I walked towards that way, because he was right in the booth up against the wall, right where the exit is. So when I got close enough to him, he reached out and grabbed my hand. And he told me he wanted to have me come back and sit with him. So I promised that I would. So I did. I came back, and he got out of the seat and ushered me in, and then he sat next to me. And then he called the waitress over to order a drink for me. And I sat next to him. I was very comfortable. I felt like I had known him all my life. I felt like, what a pleasant thing it was. All I can think about was how nice and pleasant that experience was. And while we sat there, he told me his name was Jimmy, and then he told me his name was James Marshall. And I like James Marshall, so that's what I choose to call him. I call him James Marshall. I call him every now and then, I call him Jimmy, but James Marshall is how I see him and think of him. Anyway, James Marshall and I sat there and just had our drink, and he flagged down the cameraman that took pictures and had one of us made. And so we had decided that we were going to leave after the show and go and have a bite to eat. So I didn't even know he was with anyone, and he didn't know I was with anyone. But anyway, just about near the end of the show, my friend Patrick, she joined us at the table, and so did his friend, who also was in the Little Richard band with him. As a matter of fact, Little Richard and their ensemble, which was also like a 27-man review, were there for the Christmas holidays. They played there then, that night. I didn't go then, but that's when Jimmy and Glenn played at that club. Anyway, Glenn came on over, and we all was like a foursome then. So we walked out of the club. My car was parked right across the street under a tree. It was a 59 misty blue Impala with a white rag top. And I remember as we headed across the street to go get in the car, he said, "Nice car," just like that. And so we got in it and we headed toward Sunset. We went down La Brea, got on La Brea, and then headed all the way to Sunset. And we stopped at this big restaurant called Tiny Nailers. Something on the same order as a Denny's or Norm's restaurant. It was in that particular style. Had the red booths inside, big bay windows where you could look out on the streets and see all the people moving around, the buzz and the traffic and everything. So we sat there and laughed and joked and ordered our food. We had burgers and fries and coffee. And subjects was being thrown around about them playing with Little Richard, and they made jokes about him. I won't tell you all of that, but they were having fun at Richard's expense for sure. So it had been decided that I was going to spend the evening with Jimmy at his place. We drove to the Wilcox Hotel where he was put up. Little Richard did put all his guys up, and when his band members and everybody. So that's where Jimmy was staying, at the Wilcox. I remember us pulling up in front of it, and I gave my friend Patricia the keys to the car. Glenn got up in the front seat with her, and they drove on off into the sunset. We walked on into the hotel in the lobby and went to his room. Room was very nice, very comfortable. He had a sofa in there and a wash basin and bed, and it was nice. It was a nice big old roomy room. So we sat there and talked some, and he picked his guitar up and started playing a few things, and I didn't even know he was a musician, until after we got together and we're at the restaurant. Actually, while I was sitting there in the booth with him, in the club, nothing came up on being a musician, So I want to say, for all those people out there that thought it was some kind of groupie thing, it wasn't. I didn't see him on stage and had to have him or nothing like that. That's not what happened. He saw me. and he chose me. And he made the right choice. I'm standing in the back of the California Club now. This is where all the buses used to pull in the back lot and unload the equipment and the people and the instruments, cases and drums and whatever they needed to put together for a show, whether it be keyboards and you name it. They had it on that bus, brought it here so that they could put on a spectacular show. We're right here at the California Club. This brings back so many wonderful memories. I spent a lot of time here. They had some of the best artists of all time. I mentioned Ike and Tina Turner. Etta James was here. Johnny Guitar Watson was here. The Watts 103rd Street Rhythm Band was here. They called them the Ken folks then. And they always had top-of-the-line artists right here, where black folks used to come to be entertained.